Today, I'm going to share the story of the day I encountered a strange and unnatural alien artifact. It not only showed me glimpses of the future, but also forced me to face a tough decision. Watch until the end and tell me, which of the two paths would you choose? My name is Dr. Abyss, and everything you hear or read here must remain here. The Arctic is a place where silence is more than an absence of sound. It is a presence, a weight that hangs in the air. The wind howled like a hungry animal, tearing through the endless stretches of snow and ice, as if trying to warn us. But it could not. We had been called here by the most unusual of circumstances. A strange object had fallen from the sky, and at first we thought it was nothing more than an ordinary alien spacecraft. But the truth, as it always does, turned out to be far more complicated. The team was already at the site, their movements deliberate as they carefully examined the impact zone. The object was cylindrical, dark, and deeply embedded in the snow, almost as though it had been forced into the earth by some unrelenting power. There were no markings, no signs of conventional design, no doors, windows, or any feature that would suggest how one might enter. There was only a faint hum emanating from it, a low, almost organic frequency that vibrated the very air around us. I could feel it even before I saw it, the weight of something beyond our understanding. It hung in the air, thick and oppressive, as if the object were pulling at something deep inside of me, something that was buried and dormant. "Stay alert," Dr. Ross, the mission leader from the Purple Lagoon, instructed as he approached the object. His voice was low, but there was an edge of caution in it that made everyone pause. This isn't just another alien artifact. Whatever this is, it's not like anything we've encountered before. A Purple Lagoon has been researching ovines since the 1930s, yet this still seemed like something never seen by us before. The others nodded, but I could see the uncertainty in their eyes. This was no ordinary discovery. There was something here, something we could not yet grasp, and the fact that it remained so silent, so still, only made it more dangerous. The hum in the air seemed to grow louder, though not in volume, but in intensity. It pulsed like a heartbeat, like the very life force of the object itself, calling to us. I approached slowly, feeling the chill of the wind biting into my skin. My breath formed clouds in the cold air, but the object ahead of me seemed to have its own gravity. It was as if it were pulling at the very essence of the world around it, bending the environment to its will. The closer I got, the stronger the pull. My team gathered around, but no one dared to touch it. There was an instinctual fear, a primal sense that whatever this thing was, it did not belong to us. It wasn't just alien, it was ancient, in a way that we could not yet comprehend. "We should make contact," I said, my voice betraying an uncertainty I didn't usually allow to surface. "We need to understand what this is, or it will never let us go." Dr. Ross glanced at me, his eyes narrowing. "You're sure?" "Yes, it's the only way." I reached out with my gloved hand and placed it gently on the surface of the cylinder. The instant my fingers made contact, the world shifted. It was almost imperceptible to those watching, no flash of light, no explosion of energy. But inside my mind, something happened. Something vast. It was a mere fraction of a second, an instant too brief for anyone to notice. But to me, it felt like an eternity. My consciousness was ripped from my body and hurled across an infinite expanse into the distant future. Time itself seemed to collapse as I was torn through it, and in that moment, I saw two distinct futures unfold before me. In the first reality, humanity was all but wiped out. A cataclysmic war had ravaged the earth, instigated by a race of ancient beings, alien gods, their power incomprehensible to mortal minds. They were not the gods we had once prayed to. They were something far darker. They came with the intent to reclaim what they once ruled, to wipe humanity from the face of the earth. They were returning, not as saviors, but as conquerors. I saw cities crumble in flames, oceans boil with fury. The planet was ravaged, reduced to ashes. Yet amidst the destruction, I saw humanity's resilience. The survivors, those few who remained, scattered like seeds across the ruins of the world. In the years that followed, the earth grew quiet, a barren wilderness. Civilization was lost, but life persisted. Slowly, the remnants of humanity began to rebuild. But they did not rebuild as they once had. The survivors lived in small communities, their lives tied to the land in ways they hadn't been before. Technology had regressed to a primitive level, but something remarkable began to happen. The people who lived now didn't worship the gods who had destroyed them. No, they found peace in something deeper. The sciences, though rudimentary, blended with ancient religious practices, creating a new understanding of the world. It was as though the suffering had purified their souls. Their morality, elevated to new heights, was rooted in sacrifice, humility, and a reverence for life that the old world had forgotten. And from this ashes, humanity began to flourish once more, not in the image of its former self, but as something new, something better. There was peace in this world, a quiet peace. The earth had been cleansed, and humanity had evolved beyond its former selfishness. In this future, the cost had been high, so high that it would be unthinkable to call it a victory, but it was a victory nonetheless. A victory of peace over war, of balance over chaos. But in the second reality, there was no peace. In this second future, the Purple Lagoon had fully embraced its role as the protectors of Earth. Through years of research and experimentation, we had developed advanced weapons and technologies, things that could fight back against the alien gods. The war that had once seemed inevitable was waged, and humanity fought back. The battle was long and brutal, but we won. The alien gods, with all their power, were no match for the ingenuity of mankind. However, victory came at a price. The Purple Lagoon, in the aftermath of the war, emerged from the shadows. With the knowledge and power to protect the world, we took control. Slowly, quietly, we began to reshape the world in our image. Governments fell. New laws were established. The line between the state and science blurred until it no longer existed. Humanity, now free from the alien threat, spread across the solar system. Colonies were established on Mars, on moons, in asteroids. Science became the foundation of everything. There was no longer a need for religion or for moral debates. The Purple Lagoon controlled all, directing every aspect of human existence. But a peace bought with the sacrifice of freedom. The people were no longer free. Every action was scrutinized, every thought regulated. The world was safe, but it was a cold, mechanical safety, devoid of autonomy. The war was over and humanity had won, but at the cost of its soul. I came back to reality with a jolt. The vision lasted only an instant, but in that instant, I had seen everything. The weight of it pressed down on me, suffocating me, as if the future itself had been thrust into my hands. Both futures were there, both possible, both equally inevitable, depending on the choice I made. For a moment, I simply stood there, my hand still resting on the cold surface of the cylinder. My team watched me, their faces unreadable. They hadn't seen what I had seen. They didn't understand what was at stake. "What did you see?" Dr. Ross asked, his voice quiet as if sensing the shift in the air. He was waiting for an answer, but he knew I wouldn't give it easily. He knew, perhaps better than anyone, that the future wasn't something you could choose lightly. I looked at him, but there were no words. How could I explain what I had experienced? How could I make him see that, in that brief moment, I had witnessed two possible worlds, two possible futures for humanity, and that I, of all people, was the key to deciding which one would come to pass? "I saw two futures," I said finally, my voice barely a whisper. "One where humanity is reborn through suffering, and one where we rise through conquest. And I don't know which path to choose." Ross looked at me for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he nodded. "You will find your answer. We all will. But you must remember, Dr. Abyss, the future is never as simple as we want it to be." Nodded silently. The choice was mine, but it was not one I would make lightly. It was a decision that would shape the world, and there was no going back once it was made. As we turned to leave, the cylinder remained behind, silently humming its ancient organic frequency. I knew that it would call to me again. The object would remain there to be studied, but if its purpose was merely to warn me about something, it had already fulfilled its role, and pursuing this research would only be a waste of time for Purple Lagoon. For this reason, I decided not to share my vision with anyone except Dr. Ross, the only person I trust completely. As a man of science, I will do what I do best, test possibilities. How real could this be? How far could my future truly be set in stone? Or is this just an illusion implanted in my mind? I don't know. But something has changed. I feel the weight of the world on my shoulders.